Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital, promoting prosperity and harmony to help you flourish in all areas of life. Join in as we explore the motivations and goals of real estate investors and how their ability to invest abundantly has provided them with the time and freedom to contribute to the world in a creative and thoughtful way. Now please welcome your host, Dr. Allen.
Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Multifamily Real Estate Investors. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. Today's guest is on a mission to revolutionize Christian personal finance and is passionate about teaching Christian families a biblical and better approach to investing and managing finances. After discovering that most families are losing over half of their wealth potential to hidden but definite losses, he was convinced there had to be a better way to prepare for retirement and build wealth. He hosts the Biblical Wealth Podcast, where he helps families find alternatives to the stock market roller coaster. Welcome, Jared Williams.
Thanks, Alan. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.
We're glad to have you with us, Jared. So let's get to know the real Jared behind the success story here. Let's start off with, if you can think back to who you were 10, 20 years ago, how is it that you are different now than you were, say, back 10, 20 years ago?
I would say much different now than that long ago. There's been a lot of life lessons along the way over the last couple of decades. I would say just a lot more experience. Things always tended to go very well for me. I was always very successful in school and extracurriculars and whatever I attempted to do. And I think I've now learned that that's not always the case. I'm not going to always succeed at what I try to do. Life doesn't go the way that I planned. Certainly things haven't all happened the way that I expected they were going to. And so that's helped me to be much more humble, much more trusting, really even more relaxed and able to go with the flow, but certainly also made me think outside the box and do things a lot differently than I had planned to.
Talk to us a little bit. It's nice to talk about all of our successes. They are actually the spice of life, but every successful person has had to learn to deal with setbacks and disappointments. And actually, that's a lot of what makes people successful, is learning how to deal with those setbacks. So talk to us about a specific disappointment and setback that you've had to deal with, and how did you deal with it, and what have you learned from that?
Yeah, I think the biggest one that comes to mind that was just not expected at all was, it was over 10 years ago now. Yeah, definitely over 10 years ago. But I was fired, let go, whatever, from a job. It was an educational job, so I was doing some very specific type of education in a school system, and there were aspects of the job that I was very good at, but my supervisor didn't feel like I did well at connecting with the students and things that were there. And he let me know, in 2 weeks, you won't be in this position any longer. And we had just found out we were pregnant with my first daughter at the time. And so in preparation for that, we had decided my wife was going to stay home, and we knew that we wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom when the time came, and that was all a part of the plan. And so here I'm told, hey, in 2 weeks, your family won't have any income. And my background, not what I'm doing today, obviously my background was in social work. And so that's what I had been doing. And if anyone knows much about it, you don't make a lot of money in social work. And so we didn't have a whole lot to fall back on. And so that was a really scary time and felt like at the time a great failure. But honestly, looking back on it, and to answer what did I do, I did whatever I could find. I took whatever kinds of work I could find for a little while. Eventually ended up back into a social work job and had some stable salary there. But it showed me that the path of being an employee was not secure. Even though when I was an employee, I had the steady paycheck. I realized that it could just go away at any point in time, whether it was my fault or not. I think that was around 2008. And so it was that same year that my father, who had been with the company for 30 plus years and did great, but they were in a contracting industry and got hit by the recession at the time. And so I think it may have been 2009 before it got to him. He had to lay off like 200 people, and then he was laid off as well. And income was dramatically reduced. And they've been fine, but it certainly impacted what could have been or would have been over the last 10 years of his working years. And it made me see that I wanted to have control over my income, that I wanted to be in a position where I can fail, but if I do, it's on me. I'm not fireable. I'm not going to be in this position where I'm suddenly told, hey, you no longer have an income. Good luck. So that set me on the slow and long path of figuring out how to successfully be an entrepreneur and have my own business where I could have more control anyway over our financial outcomes.
That's a hard lesson to learn. But I think as you look back on it, you can go, that was really the beginning of some good things in your life, because it has certainly changed the way you look at income and finances, and have found a way to free yourself of actually just working for a paycheck. Talk to us about really the changes in your life after having really learned that and found that there is a different avenue for you to travel.
My entrepreneurial journey, I suppose, has certainly been a long one with lots of unexpected aspects to it. I guess that's most everyone's entrepreneurial journey. But like I said, I did go back and get a job, and I worked my normal 40 hours a week, and I was very intentional about finding a job that had flexible hours, and I could somewhat come and go as I pleased. So there was some flexibility in it, and I actually got really good at that job and got to where I could do it in about 30 hours a week, and they didn't care. I'm not sure how the job was getting done, and it was getting done the way it needed to be, and so that was fine. And so I was praying about what was going to be next. I really didn't know what that was going to be. I didn't know what I was going to do in terms of a long-term career change or even part-time income. But I was very unexpectedly just introduced to a company that sold life insurance, and they typically do, they recruit people to start part-time, and that's their kind of business model, and ended up joining with them, and I was calling on family and friends and going out in the evenings and having meetings, and certainly not the way that I like to do things today, but it was a start, and it helped me begin learning about that industry. And man, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of what to do, a lot of what not to do through that experience, and since then it's just been this consistent figuring out where I fit in the financial industry. I did find that I really enjoyed that. My mind works well with it. I enjoyed helping people with finances, and so I knew that would be a long-term aspect of my career. So then it was getting into different aspects of the financial industry, seeing what was really a good fit for my values, my skill sets, what we wanted our lifestyle to look like, and just learning what does and doesn't work in the real world with money along the way, so that I could then base my business upon that.
So what, at this point in time in your life, are you most grateful for?
I am most grateful for people in my life who are patient and long-suffering and supportive as I take a very unusual path for my career. Even within my particular industry, I certainly go about things differently. I don't like prospecting, and I would much rather work on building successful marketing and being able to help as many people as I can, and taking a much longer-term approach than looking at how can I do something to bring in money today, looking at what's going to be the best long-term approach, what's going to work the best with my family. It's my wife, my parents, co-workers, other partners that I have who have been long-suffering with the many changes that we've made along the way to really build what I thought was the best thing that I can build. So there's been a lot of feast and famine times in our life financially. There's been a lot of just stress and uncertainty, and so people who are loving and supportive and stick with me, committed, regardless of how those circumstances are going, have been just extremely valuable.
Talk to us a little bit about this maverick aspect of yourself and in your business. You said you don't like prospecting. A lot of people would say, tough, just buckle down and do it. But you have been a maverick about that and said, there's a better way to do this, at least for me and my circumstances. So, well, tell us a little bit about how it is that you drive your business without actually prospecting.
I have done a lot of prospecting, and I hate it. And you get to this point where everyone's a prospect, so to speak. And so my new relationships at church, new friendships that I may make, I couldn't help but in the back of my mind, oh, are they a prospect? Oh, could I sell them whatever it is that I was selling at that point in time? And I hated that. Like, I wanted to just let my friends and my family be my friends and my family, and my customers be my customers, and knew that long term that wasn't going to be a path that I enjoyed at all. And I'd seen others burn relationships from over prospecting them, and I just didn't want to do that. And there have been times when I felt like I had to, and I hated it. And I wouldn't say that I have found a new course, a new way of doing things that no one else has done, but I did look at who in my industry, who in other industries have been successful doing things in a different way. And so I've seen that people, most of the advisors and others I know who have podcasts, and they have to give it time. It's not get rich quick by any means, but it certainly can. Podcast with other marketing elements certainly can create a very sustainable business where people are continuing to find you. People are getting to hear you in a passive way. You're creating one episode, and it can be leveraged to hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or more people. And so just a much more leverageable way to educate and especially spread a message that is unique. So right now I'm working on developing a membership program. So again, unusual in the financial world. I'm sure I'm not the only one to do it, but I don't know of anyone else doing it. I know that I'm not the only one. I just don't know the other people who are doing it, I could say. But looking at making what we do much more affordable, low cost for people, but still generating revenue for us, still having unique ways of bringing in marketing partners and things of that nature to build a business that's way less dependent upon the sale of products or people having to make these financial decisions that may or may not make sense for them, but it's the only way that I can get paid. I wanted to eliminate that aspect of it. So I've been very open to thinking outside the box, looking at how can I bring the most value to the most people and an efficient way of doing so, and trusting that the rest of it will come. There's lots of ways of generating the revenue. So that part will come. I just need to figure out how to get the value and education that people want out to them on a widespread way.
Okay, so it sounds to me like what you're doing is actually diversifying what you're doing, reaching out to partners, maybe not formalized partnerships, but you're reaching out to people who can work with you and work within your network, and you can help them while they're helping you. And so it's just a process of giving at the same time of receiving.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much a biblical principle, is it not?
I think so. I think we can all succeed and win together. There's no reason to have a loser in the process.
Think about just in the last 24 hours, what are 3 good things that have come into your life?
3 good things in the last 24 hours. I don't know that there are new things that have come into my life, but number one, we've been outspoken. I'll be frank. I'm certainly blessed to be a Christian, a follower of Jesus. You asked earlier, I guess, what's been the most supportive or the most important thing, and that is certainly the most important thing, is my relationship with Jesus and being able to have a Bible, to be in the Word, and being able to talk with Him through prayer. So that getting to do that is a huge thing, and something that teaches me, I believe gives me wisdom, is where I get the most grace for all of this journey, the mistakes that I make along the way, and so forth. I'm very blessed right now to be working from home. It's probably obvious I'm home during this, so I get to stay home with my family and still run a business and serve people and do it in a way that I get to eat lunch with my kids, eat breakfast with my kids, and get to be a part of their lives. And so that is certainly a blessing. And honestly, I enjoy getting to have opportunities like this. I enjoy getting to talk with other people, learn from them, share what I'm doing, and again, just help all of us create value for others who are listening. I could name lots of blessings. Those are kind of the first 3 that come to mind there.
Jared, it has been a pleasure talking with you today. Before we go, can you share with our guests how it is that they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah, probably the best way to learn about what it is that I do, what it is I'm teaching people, is to find the Biblical Wealth Podcast. And so that's available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Our website is biblicalwealthsolutions.com. So again, biblicalwealthsolutions.com. There's my email address is there. Any way that you want to get in touch with me is there. So I'm trying to be very easy to find.
Jared, one last question. When you leave this world, how do you want your epitaph or your obituary, however you want to put it? How do you want that to read?
I have not thought about that or certainly written anything out there. I hope that it says that I was faithful and a good steward of all that I've been given, of the knowledge that I have, my family, the relationships that I have, whatever money that I have, certainly even of the gospel. It would be a lie to say that there's not been wasted time and wasted resources, so I know I won't have done the best I could do, but that I was a good and faithful steward of all that I've been given would be a great epitaph.
A wonderful epitaph. And it looks to me like you're on that path.
Well, thank you.
Hope you have a long and prosperous life. So thank you, Jared, for being on the show today.
Thanks, Alan. It was a lot of fun.
Enlightened investors, to spearhead your life to time freedom to live abundantly, head over to steedtalker.com and pick up your free guide to passive real estate investing. Also, please take a moment and go to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star review. Your review will help us immensely to spread the stories of successful real estate investors whose lives inspire others to passively invest in real estate to live a life of time freedom, to live more abundantly in all areas of life. Enlightened investors, prosperous trails to you until we meet again.
Thank you for joining us on Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. For more information, as well as access to our free ebook on enhancing your well-being through real estate investing, be sure to connect with us at steedtalker.com. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine and enhance the humane treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. Connect with us at steedtalker.com.